Television Net is on every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Catch up with the latest ATV news, see the latest television projects, shack layouts and much more. A good time to ask questions about amateur television. We use local 2-meter liaison frequency FM simplex 147.400 MHz and Berwick repeater 439.375 MHz. Every Tuesday starting 8 p.m.
Great. So it's the 208th net, according to my count, and yes, just, trust it goes well. I'm the stand-in net controller for this evening, with Neil is unable to be in the hot seat this evening. So the first cab, I thought I might just mention before we roll on. At this stage, the running order is, I'll pass it on to Joe, TEF. I wish I could read my writing. And then Joe, if you could, well, you could pass it to Peter, BFG, on RTV1 after that. So we'll stick to RTV2 at this stage. I'll hand off to you, Joe. But before I do, I'll just do a short announcement. Peter, if you could pass it to Richard, and Richard, if you could pass it back at this stage to myself on RTV2. So that's the run order, and then I'll do a short bit, and then I'll pass it to John, VK3 ATV, and then Mick, VK3CH, and Mick. Well, I'll actually switch Mick's in, and then I'll do the close at this stage, subject to change. All right. The first thing I thought I'd mention is the Rosebud Hamfest on Sunday the 17th of November. It's $6 entry, or if you could find and fit into your primary school uniform, you might be able to get in for free, but I've got my doubts. What else is there? There's pre-loved gear, components, antennas, great door prizes, ham radio vehicles on display, demonstrations and historic radios displays, emergency services display. It's fully catered for and undercover. So yeah, it's always a great it's a fixture in the VK3 calendar on the beginning of or mid-November. Sometimes it's earlier. The Rosebud Hamfest. Make a day of it down on the peninsula. So, without any further ado, I shall do a drop carrier, and I'll do an end of transmission and pass it to you, Joe, at VK3 TET.
Today's segments are about Olivier 8250 emergency comms. It's based on a QRP rig, the True SDX. it is really small. It's all contained in a little sandwich box. There's a couple of modules. First one is obviously the True SDX and its associated wires, which I'll explain in a minute. There's also a compute module. We've got to run the software to interface to the radio. Olivier 8250 is a digital mode. Very, very resilient. Very, very little power is required, so QRP is good. And when I say good, we used to have regular contacts to Ohio in the United States on 5 watts or less. So that will just show you the resilience, and that was on 40 meters. So essentially, TrueSDX is a little micro SDR radio. It's powered by a little Adreno micro, as a matter of fact. I'm actually running it from a little LiPo battery. The LiPo battery is essentially a drone battery. It's got about 1500 milliamp high discharge, about 11.9 volts or something. It's under 12 volts, which is more than sufficient for the radio. I'm not going to go into the details of the operation, but essentially we operate on 7.0715 megahertz. It's a little bit off frequency here. Unfortunately, I don't have an antenna system where I'm filming, otherwise I would actually do a live demo. But I'll show you all the aspects of it, and up to the point of antenna hookup. So essentially we can just tune the radio on that, very simple, just literally power that up and it's ready to go. One of the key things that's required is an audio interface to the Raspberry Pi, which runs the software. The audio interface cables are quite important. I've got a little ATU as well, because essentially I use a dipole antenna. We can just string it up anywhere, and you've got to tune it up. It could be resonant, but it's just easier just to have a bit of wire. And if it's not right, we can use this little ATU unit. It's all battery operated, and yeah, it doesn't take much to tune it up. I might have a flat battery, but I think because you haven't been using it for a while, it just needs a little longer press, I think. Let's have a look. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, really nice little ATU unit. Works very, very well. So essentially we've got a little bit of wire. I can't really tune it at the moment because there's no load on it. It can't get any feedback to tune up. This is the compute module. It's actually a Raspberry Pi 4 giga version. It doesn't run anything other than the FLDigi, and I've set up the network on it to be an access point. So essentially when that's set up in the bush, so to speak, any device like a mobile phone can actually log on to it. It does not need a router. It is the main access point. So that's quite easy to set up. Now, the Raspberry Pi, this cable that I'm using is actually an audio interface. It's got an audio card in it. It's quite an expensive cable. I got it at Bunnings, but essentially what it does, it just interfaces to the Raspberry Pi, and it is a sound card. So basically the sound card is actually going into the audio socket of the TrueSDX, and the mic key button or connector is the keyer, effectively. So when we actually run FLDigi, we can actually key up using that. So that's a little bit of a tricky bit that you've got to wire up. But other than that, it's all good. Now, I've got a little battery pack here. It's a 5-volt battery pack. I'm just demonstrating it that the TrueSDX can run from either battery. The LiPo goes into the 12-volt socket, and if you're running it off 12 volts, you'll get the full 5 watts out of it. But if you're running it off of this power pack, it's actually powering it up from a 5-volt input, effectively, and it'll still work, but you'll get about 1.5 watts out of it. So normally what I use that little LiPo pack to connect the Raspberry Pi and run it, but just for now I hooked up the Raspberry Pi. Well, you can't really see it, but I did hook it up to a battery later on. This is the boot screen of the Raspberry Pi. When it boots, I'm just going to go to the network here. The network, it will just show you that at the moment it's running, and TET. TET is my network effectively. So if you were nearby, you could just literally log on, and on the log on I run VLC, and the VLC will give you the screen, effectively what you see. So this is Olivier, this is DigiRig, and DigiRig has an Olivier mode. It's got lots of digital modes. It's a really nice bit of software. So what I've got here, I've just fired it up. If I had that connected to an antenna, we'd be ready to go. So at the moment, I've got the cursor on the bottom part of the screen. With a mobile phone, for instance, you would just type your message, whatever you want, like CQ, DVK3TET, and transmit it. And it'll actually send that out. And then you just wait for a reply, and you can put it in a loop so it'll keep on transmitting it all the time until you get a reply. So this is just me typing the sort of message. That's it's as easy as that. And believe it or not, that's about as fast as the sort of one finger type. That's about as fast as the Olivier mode is. 8 to 50 signifies that it's 250 hertz wide, and it's 8 modulation tunnels effectively. It's quite resilient. It's amazing how far it goes for very little power, even under bad conditions. You can't really hear the signal at all. Like, you'd think that there's nothing on the band, and it just decodes it. So it's brilliant. So this is it, emergency communications. You've got various other Olivier modes here, but I've never used the other ones. I've used 8250, and there was a little group of us. We used to go on the net and communicate. I haven't got much time for that at the moment. But that's it. This is the emergency communications. Just think, little radio, little thing you can put in your pocket, a couple of batteries, a bit of wire, and we can talk right across the world with this. If another guy's got a similar setup on the other side of the world, we have two-way messaging system, which is very, very resilient to conditions, band conditions and so forth. So it'll get through no matter what. If you bump up the power a little bit more, you'll definitely get through. But on 5 watts, you can go a long way. This is my little compute module. It's actually a Lenovo little tablet, Chromebook. So this is what I normally use to communicate with it. So that screen that you just saw before would be here. That's it. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Olivier, 8250 emergency comms.
Well, good evening everyone, I'm Peter, VK3BFG. And Joe, always interesting mate. Some of you may have heard of a person who subscribes to Aboriginal Radio magazine, often Jim Tregellis. I worked with Jim some years ago, and a brilliant man actually, but it just reminds me, Joe reminds me of him in the sense that Jim's definition of an engineer was someone that could build something for 10 cents that any fool could build for $1. And certainly Joe goes along that line of thinking, I think, with the kind of stuff that he's coming up with there. And really interesting, Joe, so well done, and keep it up. I might even get one of those little jiggers. could be a bit of fun. Anyway, and amazing stuff. And in fact, that we've got this digital technology that digs the signals out of the noise, and it's all got to do with the ability to do Fourier analysis. And those of you that have done calculus would know all about Fourier. Perhaps others as well, but yeah, we've now got computers or computing that can do that, and that's what it's all about, really. Amazing stuff. I wouldn't have believed it 20 years ago or even 10 years ago. Well, anyway, those of you that have been watching RTV over the last week will have noticed there's quite a few hiccups and some very strange effects. Basically, the switches are showing the strain. They were you know, $30 to $50 5-way switches, which were really just designed to be perhaps in a more or less sedentary environment where they weren't being switched all the time. And I'm certainly seeing that the switching is not as good as what it used to be. So we're looking at some solutions for that, and I have found some RS-232 control switches. They weren't available when I first started looking at HC for RTV, but they are available now. And there's some other things there that could make things a lot simpler. So maybe I'm looking at a rethink and a redesign, and perhaps a simplification of what's there. There are some things, there's some elements of the controllers that we're not really using, so we could get rid of them and make it a bit simpler. As Rob 3IE reminds me, keep it simple. But things tend to grow. It's been very organic, as Phil 3G had often remarks that where we started installation at Olinda, it looks absolutely nothing like it is now at Mount View, and it's sort of grown and grown and grown. And of course, when you build stuff on top of stuff on top of stuff, and you do modifications on modifications, it starts to get messy, and that's certainly the case. So anyway, we're looking at that. On a more positive note, or on a positive note, I have fired up the 500 watt PA, and I took it up to 200 watts, which is the limit of my power meter, so I'm not going to go any further than that, otherwise I'll burn out the directional coupler in it. But I thought I'd show you the innards of the thing. It's fairly simple. Rob 3IE has the original boards now. He donated $50 for that. Thanks, Rob. And I'm sure you've got them there. But he said he's got to save up for the FET, which is fairly expensive actually. They're $100 or something like that. They are. And of course, you need a heat spreader, which is probably the major expense, Rob. The thick heat spreader made of copper is pretty expensive. Anyway, let's have a look at the amplifier. Again, it's going to simplify things because existing right now, we've got a driver which is quite separate, and we've got the final, etc., and we've got the modulator, which is separate again. So there's 3 modules there that it's going to go down to 2. So at least we'll get rid of one of the modules. So we'll go for shaky cam again. So just stand by and we'll get around here where we can see where we're going, and we can see it there in the distance. I haven't got it fired up. I thought probably not a good idea. But I thought it'd be good to just have a look inside, show you what it's like. And that's the one of the differences, the fact that we've got the driver there, and that's a Mitsubishi module, and it's a 60-watt module actually. And we'll be running that probably about a watt or watt and a half. So it's going to be just loafing along and very linear at that power level. You might ask, well, why didn't you put an 18-watt one in? Well, they both draw the same standing current, so there's no real advantage. There was no real advantage of that. And these modules are about the same price. So anyway, we've just got to be careful about the drive now, because it's only going to require a milliwatt or two at this point here to get enough power to drive the final. So we just come around here, and it's on exactly the same heatsink. In fact, the whole bottom of this thing is heatsink, and it's quite heavy. So here's the 0.5 kilowatt, and of course we don't run it at 500 watts. Of course, it's throttled well back there, about the 100, and it's a dual FET. So there's two FETs actually in there, and they're in push-pull. And there's a lot of matching circuits there, and a lot of high-quality RF type capacitors in the thing, and a fairly thick. Oh, that's by 2 meters. My God, I put up with that. Would you believe? Anyway, you need a fairly thick heat spreader there, Rob, on that, and that won't be too cheap. So we're coming in there at just a watt or two, and we'll come out at 100 there. And again, that's not going to be very efficient. It's going to be drawing probably about 7 amps at 50 volts. So you can work out the input and the output, and the fact that we're going to warm the heatsink a fair bit. But sitting right underneath here will be the tangential fan, which blows directly up, and I can adjust that to be an absolute torrent of air. It's an amazing tangential fan. Came out of Telstra at the big Telstra there. We ought to figure what it's called, but anyway, you all know that big facility that was on the hill there in the inner parts of Melbourne. Anyway, that's a bit of a look at the PA. It's been fired up and it's very docile, so it will be a part of the regeneration, if you like. And the hope is that with the fact that that's going to be all sealed up, and it should be a lot RF tight than the existing one. So maybe, and it's also a different type. So hopefully we might get less interaction between it and the receivers, which is one of the problems we have at the moment. And it's one of the reasons why MIC 3CH is probably can't get in, because it'll key up for him, but as soon as the transmitter comes on, it kills the receiver. So stronger signals are okay, but those people that are marginal sort of have some issues there. Anyway, I think that's it for me for tonight, and it's over to Richard, VK3VRS. So if you could be rolling there, Richard, we should be able to get a fairly smooth changeover. So pardon for shaky cam while I put it down, and we'll just put it down over there where it's not going to
Good evening, everybody. Well, sort of a good changeover, I suppose. I was transmitting, so yeah, I don't know. Got my U-Buttes there, so don't forget there's Discord and Facebook. Yeah, tonight I haven't got a lot of contact. Been rather busy actually, very busy boy. In fact, I can actually show you what I have been doing, what's keeping me busy. Probably not going to be ideal, but let's just try this. Rightio, so that's current live view of my backyard. Yeah, you can see. Yeah, you can see I'm actually in that section there that the mouse is hovering over. The new retaining wall is being built, which goes right around to here. A new gate will be put in here. Retaining wall all the way down this section here as well, all the way off camera there, just off camera. That's a trench for power, data and water is going in there. There's obviously a pit. That's where the drains are. Oh, look, there's a jackhammer still laying out there. Conduits and whatnot. A lot of work. That eventually, this used to be 2 levels. This section here and that section there used to be 2 levels, and this was a brick courtyard with a barbecue area, bit of a garden bed over there. This area in here used to be an old pool, which we then turned into a play area when we got rid of the pool, and then it turned into a storage area. So that's all being levelled to 1 level now, and it's all being concreted, and I'm going to have a barbecue area over here, and yeah, we've got 2 portable buildings that are going in over there. So anyone asked, that's what I've been up to. So that's why I don't get much done. I have, however, been doing some radio stuff, and it's all to do with the upcoming weekend. So this weekend here. So this weekend we're having another mad day. For those who have been living under a rock or unaware or missed last week. Mark, JMA and myself are going out to a lovely location, which I'll show you in a second. Ignore that date. For Mark and I, we're actually, because of the weather, we've actually opted to go on Saturday. So Saturday the 2nd, we're going to head down to a lovely place down in Lock, which I can put on the screen. So this is the location that we're going to. It's a lookout. It's quite high. So let me just get rid of those barcodes for a minute. So this is basically where we're going. So you can see it's in the middle of paddocks. The last time we were down this location we were just down this road a little bit. We were here, so you can see a little bit further this time. So we're here now instead of around here somewhere there. So a bit more of a travel, but you can see it's a little bit of a distance from Melbourne, but we're actually higher up than we were last time, and we had a lot of contacts last time. So we're actually higher up this time, which is really, really good. This is what it looks like. So that's the live view. Obviously in winter, because it looks rather wet and horrible there. I believe it's a bit drier at the moment, so which is quite good. So we will be propping ourselves somewhere around in here. We'll work out where it is. Obviously we'll be on the other side of the road with our cars on that section of road, purely because we don't want people walking in front of our antennas. Mark and I will both be there. Both of us will have 905 radios. We're covering from 2 metres all the way up to 10 gigs, both of us. So we can work multiple contacts. Anybody who wants to come and join us, feel free. If you want to know grid squares, then that's the grid square there, latitude and longitude. So yeah, take that down. QF21TN, I think it is. So that'll be our grid square. So come and join us, say hello, have a chat if you like. If you haven't got any microwave stuff yourself and would like to have a try, please feel free to drop in on us. We'll be there from, we're going to plan on getting there by about midday, set up, have a little bit of a barbecue, and a bit of a chat and testing of some gear, and then hopefully we'll be all up and running by 2 o'clock, and hopefully we'll get some contacts. So that's what I've got planned. And another great thing is when you use this great website, Contest Radar, it's great for putting in your plot and seeing who is where. Now, I forgot to set that up as a portable, but that doesn't matter. And if everybody who is planning on activating jumps on Contest Radar and puts in their grid square, their call sign and grid square, then makes it really good. You can actually work out which way to point your antennas. So that's it in a nutshell. That's where we're going to be. So I'm hoping that everybody that can will meet up with somebody and join in on the fun. Definitely a lot of fun, and get you out of the house. Saturday's going to be a perfect day. It's going to be 26 degrees and no wind to speak of, so that's, in my book, pretty perfect weather. The reason why we picked Saturday is Sunday is going to be 30 degrees and windy with a late afternoon shower. That didn't sound very appealing to us. The only thing that was okay was 29 degrees. A bit warm, but we've got shelter. So, but yeah, the rest of it didn't sound very good at all. I might just run a little quick video, just to remind everybody about the ham day. So stay tuned. car. We're basically set up. We've got a few antennas set up here. Mark's not transmitting, so I'll walk in front. So this is our setup here, with all our antennas. You can probably hear it's a little bit windy, so there's a couple. There's the cars behind us. And just to have a look at our view that we've got, there's Mark. There's our view. So this is where we currently are. So this is Cape Horn Lookout near Lock. Town of Lock is just that way. And this is basically our car park. So we've got a gazebo set up, our grid packs. Here's our radio set up. So you can see we've got our desks. We forgot to bring some pegs for the gazebo. Got a couple of other antennas there that we're going to try. Our setup, a bit easier to see in here. So you can see there's my 905 handheld and laptop. And Mark's here. He's got the 705, also the Yaesu, with all his bits and pieces hiding inside there. So that's our setup at the moment. And this is what we've got looking at. The rest of the 905 is down there. You can see we've got 240 volts supplied by that cable, which disappears into my car, and nice big lithium battery, so 200 amp hour. The inverter is hiding underneath that bit there. So that's our current setup. Obviously we've got our cars set up as well, but if we didn't have this wind it'd be perfect. And next time, mental note, remember to bring the pegs for the gazebo. And tell God no wind. So we've got a fridge. We'll be cooking later on. The time is currently, what is the time? 10:50, and we're pretty much 11:50. Yep, and we're pretty much all set up. We'll just sort of tinker a little bit now. You see the antennas that we've got here, just to explain. So that's a 2.4 grid pack. That's a 2.4 panel, not connected at the moment. Can only connect one antenna for each band at a time. That's a 5.8, all horizontally polarized. That's a 5.8 dish, which we're going to try as well. And 2.4, it's got a dual feed. And there's Mark's set up over there. So he's got 2.4, 5.8, 3.4, 1.2, and the dual band up there. So, yeah, very impromptu. Mark's there. Hello, Mark. So, busy doing. And that's my setup. So, yeah, we'll do a bit of filming later on, and I'll splice it in and make it look like something. All right, bye.
Yeah, I've got 5.7 and 10, so they're the bands we're working. So, the 905 is standing very nice today. Also have a 905, but I've got it set up as a home station. So maybe we'll work it from there one day. Not sure where you're located home-wise, but you're at portable in the right spot. Kind of sure. Okay. Do you want to? We're going to work Andrew on 3.4. Have you worked Richard yet, Andrew? No. No. Okay. All right. Back to you. VK3VRS, VK3HY.
VK3HY, VK3VRS. There's lots of radios going on at the moment. Yeah, the 905 is really good. My home QDH is actually Berwick, and I'm at 110 metres above sea level from there. So I've actually set up my 905 so I can easily take it portable and still use it as a base station at home. So it's basically sitting on the ground at the moment on a piece of carpet, and I'm just running some LMR 400 to the antennas. Obviously using a little patch antenna, patch lead to change it from the SMA to the N. Food. Very important thing. All right. And then we've got our chef, Mark. We've also got a blow-in MAP has joined us as well. So he's doing 2 metres, hiding there. There he is, hiding with his setup. Yeah, enjoying. And then we've got our beautiful setup here. The wind has died off a fair bit, so it's not as windy. We're not worried about our tent taking off. 5 gig is active,
Yeah, good signal from you.
which is good. And we've got monitoring 2.4, 1.2 and 439. Oh, and another bonus from this location, just with my handheld. I don't know if you can see that, but that's RMC. And we've got RMC full scale on the handheld. Very good. Enjoy, guys. Rightio. We've had some lunch and we've been doing some operating, but we've also got some more hams visiting. Stu, SGL, has come to visit as well. So we're got a few of us here now, which is quite good. It's great. It's great that we can get people out and about. We've still got some antennas to play with, so down there. So still plenty to do. So we're looking forward to it. We might even see at some stage if we can do some video, because I did bring a little camera. So we might see if we can connect that up to the 905 and see if we can make it happen. So there's the 905 down there. Been doing very well. Plenty of contacts on 5 gig. I'm mainly operating 5 gig at the moment, and obviously 2.4. I do have a 1.2 gig antenna, but I've got a bit of a lack of coax at the moment. So you can see 3 antennas haven't got coax in it, but one of mine's going over to this dish. So we've been lining up with 1.2 on Mark's radio, and then I've been contacting on 5 gig on that dish, so we can line up and then contact. So that sort of worked very well. The gazebo's suffering a bit because of the wind, but other than that, all good. All right, that's it for now. Tune in later.
For live news on the planets, cosmology, sunspots and more, every Friday at 10 p.m. Clint VK3 CSJ presents the Astronomical Society of Victoria broadcast on this amateur television repeater, VK3 RTV Channel 1.
We're back live in the studio. Yeah, so yeah, that gives you a bit of a sample of fun. I can assure you, both Mark and my setup have changed significantly since then. So I probably will be taking some images. So stay tuned for a future episode of an update of that. Yeah, I have been quite busy. Apart from all that stuff outside, I've actually been making up cables as well. So getting cables ready, stuff like this. I can hear people talking on radios, and yeah, getting stuff ready. So that's got to be wired up with cables. So still a fair bit for me to do and not much time. So I'm trying to squeeze it all in. I will get there. Anyway, that's it for me for tonight. I think I've taken up plenty of time, and so now I believe I'm handing it back to our net controller, VK3QL, and he will be on RTV2. So I'll flick over to the colour bars, and then everyone flick your channel.
The The Amateur Television Net is on every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Catch up with the latest ATV news, see the latest television projects, shack layouts and much more. A good time to ask questions about amateur television. We use
Right. There's going to be a few things flashing up, but thanks Richard and Peter, and of course earlier we saw Joe, so it's been action-packed, and we're nearly 50 minutes in, so that's rather long segments, but lots of good stuff. All right, I will keep it short, and perhaps if you could come up, I might run to the quiz, seeing that seems to be better than watching me. By popular demand. So while that quiz is on, if you could come up on the link, Mick, VK3CH, and after Mick we'll pass it to John, VK3ATV. So Mick, if you could come online and I shall run the quiz. So great. All right. I hope you got them all right. Mick, VK3CH is on the line, so I'll switch it across to Mick for the next segment. And if Mick, you could pass it on to John, ATV. John, ATV.
Okay, good evening everybody. So all the audio levels should be nice because it's going through Ian's transmitter. All right then, and the reason we're still going through is we are of the belief that the transmitter, the DVB-T transmitter, we think the output coupling capacitor is crook, and they're special type, sort of RF types. So I thought, well, I'll get one from Bert. Well, actually, I'm getting 3 of them just to be safe, from Bert over in Holland. So postage delays, etc. So when that rolls up, we'll look at changing those over. And the other thing, we were away for a couple of days up Horsham visiting XYL's side of the family. And when we came back, in the post office was this board, or top board, that goes on top of the Raspberry Pi. Now, I don't want to pull these cables out, but you can sort of see it there in the corner. Hang on, I'll put it that way. No. Oh, hang on. I'll do this. Hang on. Which one am I meant to do? That one. That might be better. Table cam. I forgot about table cam. So this is from Queensland. A board that a guy, what is it? VK4NGA cell. Well, actually, I bought the last one. So he's probably going to get a few more in stock. So if you just Google VK4NGA, you'll probably come up with that. So what I've done, if I push that back, is it's configured but I'm trying to get it talking. Now I've got, you need a radio that talks to the node. Now that transmits a very weak signal on 70 SEMS. Believe it or not, I haven't used this thing for so long. I forget how to make it all going. Well, actually, I've got it going now on the right frequency and the subaudible tone, and I am keying tones on it to make it talk. Easiest thing to do is there's a node called a parrot node. So you just connect to the parrot node and know that you're talking, but when I key in the tones, nothing happens. So whether I need to set up some port forwarding in my the actual router, internet modem, although the instructions say on All-Star you don't have to do that. It's only if somebody wants to connect to your node. So, I'll just keep fishing. I've only been mucking around with this thing probably since about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So, plus interruptions, dinner, mucking around and various other domestic chores. So, we might, and I've got another domestic chore all of tomorrow morning, so maybe after lunch I'll be actually, possibly without interruptions, get into it and muck around and do a bit more reading and just see what's wrong. I'm sure it's just a couple of, you know how it is, it'll be just some little setting, and once you put that in, everything will just burst into life. So there you go. Plus I'm probably too tired after driving and all the rest of it. What's normally a 3-hour 20-minute journey was 5 hours and 10 minutes, and that's without no stops for lunch or anything, just driving, and just one petrol stop, just road works and this and that, just, I don't know, progress they call it. Oh well. There you go. That's about all I've really got, I think. So, thinking, what else have I done? No, that's probably it. Getting this new toy working, and yeah, waiting on these capacitors to turn up in the mail, and then probably another visit to Peter to make sure it's all nice on the workshop, and hopefully that is what's wrong, because if that's not what is wrong, then I don't know. Peter had it on the test bench. It increases, it says it's increasing in current draw when we drive it harder. So Peter seems to think, well, that doesn't mean it's dead. If it was dead, there'd be no current draw. So we're just hoping it's this capacitor. All right, that's enough from me. We'll put it across, Ian said, to John, VK3 ATV over in Williamstown. So John, if you want to get ready, Ian's probably going to drop me off because it's all remote. His hand's pulling the strings. So there you go. Cheers all. That's all we've got for this week.
And I've done it again, forgotten to turn the audio off. New set-top box. Good evening everyone, John, VK3 ATV in Williamstown. Haven't been on for a few weeks. I'll try and keep this short because we're running running a little bit late. I had a few things to show you, but I'll make it fairly quick. The first one, I've just recently received something in the mail from Bert, like a lot of people do. Very neat little package. I think most of you have seen that before. 23 centimetres. It's about 2 watts in and about 140 watts out. So neat little package. Of course, it needs a very big heatsink and fans attached to that. And the other difficulty is, you can see, hopefully you can see there, it needs 28 volts. So I did have a 28 volt, 20 amp power supply in the storage shed. So I've pulled that out, and I'll give you a quick look at it. I've decided not to use it. I actually needed a trolley to move it. It probably weighs about 30 kilos, and it's a fairly old one. So I'll just quickly turn the camera down to show you. So that's the 28 volt, 20 amp power supply. But I took the lid off and had a look at the condition of it, and sure, I could probably blow the dust off it, but I suspect there's probably a little bit of work in some capacitors, etc. The reason it's so heavy is that's pretty much all transformer and under that cover there. So I've decided I probably won't use that power supply. So if anybody has, I know others have used those amplifiers. If you've got a good suggestion for a power supply, please let me know, because I'll be looking for one. The next thing I wanted to show you was just a lesson in storing headsets. I've been looking probably for about a year for my pilot headset, and I probably put it in storage about 20 years ago. Not a very expensive one, quite a cheap version, but you can probably see the headset itself is in quite good condition. But when I pulled it out of the box, you can see the condition of the cord, the curly cord there. The rubber's just completely disintegrated. So I don't think that one's worth repairing. So I think the power supply will probably go into e-waste. There's a council e-waste collection in about a week and a half. I think the headphones will go into the bin, and the headset. The other thing I wanted to show you was I've shown you previously a quick look at a electronic magnifying glass, which is used for soldering surface mount equipment. So I'll give you a quick look at that. So that's the unit there, available on AliExpress. They're not particularly expensive. A lot of ATVs I know have them, but very handy. Once your eyes get a little bit older, like a few of us, it's worth having that, particularly for the surface mount. So just to zoom in on the screen, you can see they're the pads that the surface mount device goes on, and you can see the size of the soldering iron tip. Makes it a lot easier to see where you're working, and that's a fairly fine tip on the soldering iron. So definitely worth considering getting that magnifying glass or microscope when you want to use surface mount. The other important thing is a good soldering iron, a good soldering station, and I've just purchased that one recently. It doesn't have the hot air gun, which I'll probably buy separately, but that's quite a good one. It's got two sides, so set temperature 160 degrees, and shows you the actual temperature of the iron, and that'll start increasing as the irons come up and start getting warmer. It's got the soldering iron, and you can get different tips and different sizes for that, and the desoldering gun. And it's got quite a fine tip on that. So that'll should make it a lot easier for the surface mount device soldering. Another tip, if you haven't got one, get yourself a third hand. You always need three hands to solder, and when you've got small connectors, wires, components, the little clips always help. Make sure you get a heavy metal stand so it sits on the bench. I did have a smaller suction type one, but they're not very good. So I've got my new soldering iron or soldering station. So my old one, which is that one there, is still working. It's based on a Royal. If anybody knew the brand, but I built that myself from parts. As I said, still working. The only thing that's not working is one of the soldering irons. The small iron still works. The desoldering gun works, and I've got a few spare parts in here, spare tips. That's the iron that doesn't work. Some air pump spares, etc. So if anybody is interested in that, I'm any ATVs interested in desoldering station, let me know. If I don't get any takers on that one, that will also go to Council E-Waste in a week and a half. So send me an email if you're interested. I don't want anything for it. You'll have to pick it up from Williamstown. Yeah, as I said, if nobody's interested, that will go to E-Waste. So that's some of the mess that came off my headset. That's about it from me tonight. So just a few little things that I've been playing with. I didn't put anything together to present tonight, so I just thought I'd give you a quick live shaky cam, as we call it. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed tonight. I will pass it back to Ian. I don't think there's anybody else, Ian. Did you want to close, or are you happy for me to close?
Yep, I'll close, yep.
Okay, all right. So stay on RTV2. Ian, VK3QL, will come up and close the net. So thanks everyone for watching again. And 73 is from John, VK3ATV in Williamstown.
Thanks for that. So there's tickets available for the online component of that, so you'll be able to watch that next weekend. Sorry, thanks Richard for that. Now, what am I doing? There we have it. So the other thing I wanted to touch on is the streams, electronic versions of accessing the RTV net. We obviously keen on people setting up set-top boxes and antennas to watch the net live direct from the site, but if that's not possible, then there's various means. There's the Discord live RTV feed. There was 3 people watching that. There's Rob IE BATC stream, Rob VK3IE stream. There were 6 when I last looked on that, and there's my stream, which is Ian VK3 Quebec Lima channel. There's 22 at this point in time, and just as a matter of interest, I record and list the last 3 nets, and last week's nets recording has been viewed at least 175 times when I last looked. So that's a lot of interest, and obviously a lot of people overseas do time shift for those recordings, and also it's available for stations locally to check their transmissions, because a lot of things happen, like the sound doesn't work sometimes. So it's often advantageous to watch the replay to check out what actually happened and what's the quality like, and other aspects, and obviously to check on any details that are run through during the net. All right, the other thing I wanted to touch on is the CAT 24 Part 2, the online version of the conference on Adabit to television run by the BATC was last Saturday, Saturday evening our time, and a lot of people was watching that locally that I'm aware of, and also the program was very interesting, and of course, there's a Port Sound development, so we're always very keen to see that. The satellites by touch, I learnt a few things on that. Michael covered how he set up his a lot of touchscreens operation, built a lot of it himself, or most of it himself, the receivers and the transmitter, and gone through a number of iterations, all very interesting. The All-Star for Talkback was a very interesting coverage, and there's a lot of interest locally for that. Behind the scenes, CAT 24, I found that very interesting. A lot of streaming techniques and setups were covered, and very complex setup that David and Tammy run to actually get that to air, as it were. Ham TV from the ISS, it sort of gives a final update on where things were going there, and the ISS Ham TV is hoped at this stage will be installed by the end of this year, but things always move to the right in space. The recording of the original recording that was streamed is still on the BATC stream site online. It's called BATC Online on YouTube, and I assume that in the coming weeks they will chop it up into various recordings of each of the segments, but at this stage you can move through, fast forward and replay and the full 3 or 4 hour type recording, and it's very interesting to catch up on that. So I do recommend people check that out. Do yourself a favour, as someone said once, and check it out. All right, I'm losing my voice. Now, I think I might just finish that, cover that off, and close the net. Thanks, guys. Yeah, we seem to have sort of recovered a bit of time. John and Mick were able to be quite concise and to the point, and that was good. All right, hope to see you next week, and trust you enjoyed the net, as I'm thinking, what am I doing next? and I think I found the button. So here we are, the outro with our executive producer featured Lucy.